Well, good morning, everyone. Good morning. It is beautiful Friday, sun is out, and I am so excited to see you all here. So excited because each of you responded to the urgency that is before us. We can no longer do business as usual. And we have an amazing opportunity today to put some resources to use to re-engage the students who stopped out and to keep the students who are. Those of you who I haven't had the opportunity to meet, my name is Rick Shabazz. I have the honor and privilege, president of this wonderful college, this historical college, the best community college that I have ever worked at in my life. Let's give each other a round of applause for taking on Friday to be here. I hear the chat. And let me say that while the Pandora's box with hype and mind is here to stay, there is no such for your colleague on the way to the restroom or to get a donut or to get some coffee and to hear the stories of their families and their travels, students and their experiences. That alone was worth doing this. I have met a number of people just today who were hired during the pandemic who never got a chance to meet their colleagues. And so we're in this transition as a college where we need to come into spaces with the appropriate safety and that sort of thing, because COVID is absolutely real. So thank you, Ginger, and the facilities team for making sure there are masks, hand sanitizer, and things of that nature. And let me publicly thank and ask that we give a round of applause for Jay and Ginger and the facilities team for putting this together. For those of you who get a chance to work with me closely know that I'm particular about some things. And I wanted this here. Right? Normally we go to the business conference center, which for me is way on the other side of the campus. And I really want to get back to the cafe being a place where we gather. We invested a lot of resources in this beautiful mural that I regularly come down and just gaze at because it's a full story of the historic commitment to social justice that our college has had throughout history. So again, thank you, Jay and Ginger and all of the facilities team. Always have to acknowledge Robbie and Majda, Sean and Eric and the tech team. We could not do it without them. Nor could we do it without the wonderful classified professionals provide support to the vice presidents, to every area of this campus. There are nearly 50 classified professionals who are signed up today. Let's give them a round of applause. They are the ones usually on the front lines, making sure that students are supported and find where they need to go. I want to also publicly thank our wonderful faculty. There are over 40 faculty members, chairs, coordinators, counselors, and the like. Thank you. I know that this was a huge sacrifice for a lot of people who may have had plans today, but the urgency of enrollment ensures that we have people to educate, people to get access to this world-class education here at City College. And the fact of the matter is that we're still feeling the effects of the pandemic. We have programs like cosmetology that need to be rebuilt, and there are others that need to be rebuilt. And so there are these discussions that are occurring in those groups. And we need to come together to have a broader conversation about how all of want to also thank Caesar and the marketing. They did a wonderful job giving them this out. Senior Curry and institutional effectiveness. There will be a survey that comes out to assess whether you all prefer to be in the MS building, the business conference center, or whether this is a better place for us to meet. You'll have an opportunity to provide us with some feedback. Want to publicly acknowledge, anytime you get to have one of your mentors in your presence, you want to acknowledge them. And so I'd ask Dr. Kende to stand up and to be acknowledged. For those of you who don't know, you know, in education, it's very interesting because you get, a lot of times you get labeled or you get pigeonholed into a certain area. And so I came up through the student services side of the house, although I always had instructional programs and I've always been a faculty. But Dr. Kende is directly responsible for teaching me most, if not all, about what I know about instruction in terms of sections and scheduling and supporting faculty in the pursuits of student success. And Dr. Kende has been with us for almost 2 years now, working with the deans as we have a number of new deans, and also working with Tilly as she transitioned from Arizona to California. It's always good when you go to a new state or a new area to have an expert you can lean on. And Dr. Kende has been that expert for both me and Tilly. And speaking of Tilly, I have to send a huge shout out to our wonderful vice presidents. In full Ricky Taskmaster fashion, I loved the heck out of them about this event, and I lost a night's sleep, and I know they lost a night's sleep. But when we began to receive the numbers of who was responding, and when I got a chance to see the PowerPoints, the expertise and the talents, the dedication and the sacrifice of our wonderful vice presidents who really do campus day-to-day operations. I say that a lot, one to remind myself. They have put a lot of effort into today because they also know how important today is. And let me set the tone for today. Because if you ask 10 people what enrollment management is, you're liable to get 10 different answers. So let me tell you what today is about and what it's not about. Today is not about cutting sections and how many students we're going to let a class run and all of those things, right? So if you came to have that discussion, there's a time and there's a place for that. It usually takes place at the division level and in those meetings. And believe it or not, and hopefully she'll agree, I never go to Tilly and say, you know what, that class has to be cut. That's not the role of the president. That's the role of the deans and the vice presidents and the chairs. I don't even have those discussions. The discussions that I involve myself is where are the opportunities? Where are the needs? Where do I need to be in the community, working with donors to bring much needed resources, whether it be internships, whether it be funding, so that our wonderful faculty and our classified professionals have the resources that you require to educate our students. This is an urgent matter, and you responded. Many of you moved your schedules, addressed childcare. See, I see your little people over there. Enrollment childcare is real, right? Many of you all say, I have to bring my own daughter here. So we are actively working on childcare for our employees and for our students. In our new facilities plan, it calls just on the other side of there for there to be a facility for working adults for childhood. We have to be a child-friendly campus because not only do our students have children, we have children. And I can tell you, I've worked at some colleges where I didn't take my daughter to the college. I love bringing my daughter here because it's a family. And so we need to find a solution. The reality is that our current child care center, even if we did allow employees and students to use it. There are 17,000+ students, nearly 1,000 employees. We've already outgrown that place before the doors even open. So we're looking at solutions, and we have some things in the works. I assure you that we have some things in the works. We have countless new people here. If you, and I want you to keep your hand up when I ask these questions, because I think it's important that we understand this magnitude. If you have been at the college for less than 2 years, raise your hand. If you have been in your role, meaning you've been here prior, but you're in a new role in the college, less than 2 years, raise your hand. Those folks, keep your hand. If you're still trying to figure out how to operate during a pandemic, raise your hand. So now there's some people who didn't raise their hands, so we need to lean on you because you got this figured out. So all of you today is about all of these spectrums. You got to figure out how to operate, and you got a bunch of people around you who need some help because we're new in our. Reality is that most of us don't have this figured out. Everyone's looking for this solution for enrollment. Most of the community colleges national, right? It's important that we know this is not a city college issue or a problem. This is a national problem. And it is also so important, I know they may have thought on this, don't forget it. But if you're a student, you stand up. I understand there's some students now. And I've always told the students this. Every student who I run into speaks so positively about their interaction with faculty, classified managers, supervisors. I got to get every group in there. Somebody such a positive experience with our college. But there's an obligation that goes along with that. And that obligation is to go back into your communities because you know someone who could benefit from this world-class education, whether it be basic needs, one of our learning communities, study abroad, our honors program, or a host of other resources that we offer. But let me be clear, we are here because of you. A couple other positive things. Our nurses, we got this little nursing book. It's not here. It was just ranked second in the nation. Now, somebody's going to say, I didn't talk about their program, right? But I just got that email last week. There are so many programs at this college that have national ranking, Sean and the design. I mean, I could go down the list. We know that this is a world-class education, but it serves us no good if people just drive by the buildings and they don't know what's inside. So that's what today is about. How do we even get the students that we're here? Like I sent an email this morning. My folks probably, there's some meetings that think they're the only ones that get details. It's probably the one. Right. Every meeting on this campus is emails. But I was watching the video, I spent too much time on social media. I was watching the video this morning from UC Davis. And they did a tour with students on where all the study spaces were. And I immediately shot an email to my folks like, look, we need this. How many students don't know where all the study spaces are, the computer labs are? So it's coming because we were fortunate enough to hire a new videographer right now. And maybe that's the future, folks. People want to watch 1 or 2 minute videos. And not only did we hire a videographer, but this was an internal promotion for someone who worked in facilities and who had a talent and a skill and a desire. And we're equally committed to ensuring that folks have emotional opportunities here at our college. So welcome, and we expect a lot of videos coming out of that. He's already done an amazing job with a number of projects. So to conclude, the governor is proposing nearly $200 million in his proposed budget. Our percentage as a district is roughly, Roxanne, about 13% as a district of that 200 million. Our college's allocation of that 13% is roughly about 22%. That puts us somewhere between 3 and 5 million, so approximates, of resources that are coming specifically for retention and outreach, engaging the current students and engaging the community and those students who stopped out. Today, we're going to break out into 4 groups where we are going to decide how we spend about 800,000 of those funds. Well, why do we need to do this now and why not after spring break? Because we're in budget setup right now. And so we literally will leave today with some ideas of how Roxanne and John and the team over in the business office will set up those budgets so that they've assured me that those funds will be ready July. If we would have waited, these funds may not have been available to us until September. We can't wait until September to go after our students, to have things in place for our current students. And that is the urgency of how we spend these resources. And so we want you to have fun today. Don't be so serious. This should be fun. I love working here. And as Dr. Kende said this, like she has, I can wear a suit. Like, you know, I'm wearing a suit, I'm going to give a presentation, I'm going to the board. Because this is a family, you can come, you belong here. And you get to come as you are and be comfortable. So I want you to have fun today. And speaking of having fun, we have an amazing academic senate president. We have some lively discussions, and it's all centered on how to improve things for students. We agree most of the time. We may not agree on how we get there, but we have some very lively discussions about how do we improve our college. And for that, I'd like to ask Ray Jose to come up and share a few words with you.
Well, thank you, and I'm happy you didn't put my picture on the slide. That reminds me, I need a professional picture at some point, somehow. Thank you, Celia. But it's good to be here. I'm actually excited. I mean, for those of you that know me, I thrive in collaborating spaces. I'm openly curious. That's something that I discovered not too long ago, and I love to learn from everybody. I always learn something new. I'm always waiting for participation and involvement because it's through that involvement with each other that we can create something great for our students. So the fact that you're here on a Friday, it's a lot of hours. That speaks volumes of how much you care about the college, how much you care for each other, and how much, of course, you care for our students, which is really why we're here. Right? It's really how can we better serve the students and this project enrollment management. I know Vicky says it a lot, right? It's all of us. It's all about because everything we do will impact everything we do. So it's important that we do get involved. It's important that you know that this is a very collaborative approach. So something that I've learned from this role is that we do have conversations weekly with administration. So for those of you that don't know that, it's a very collaborative space. As Ricky said, we might not agree on everything, but we do have lively discussions where we can create a space to do better for each other, because I'm big about human relationships. I am communication studies after all, but I'm all about how can we build each other up? How can we help each other be better as colleagues, wherever the role that we have, so we can better serve the students. So we ourselves can be happier when we come to work, and that trickles down to how we serve the students, right? A smile goes a long way. We all know that. So I'm inspired by all of you. I'm inspired by City as a whole, as a campus for the students that we serve. Something that we did that I'm very appreciative with administration is for those that couldn't be here, I know sometimes it feels like everything is last minute, right? Sometimes we do feel that, but there is a lot going on. And this is truly because right now, we're not meeting targets, so we really need to implement something, strategies that will help. So even though it might feel last minute, we're trying to say, okay, how can we make it more inclusive? How can we make this process feel like your voice matters? Doesn't matter if you're here or if you couldn't be here. So something that administration did, thankfully created a website where you'll be able to provide feedback. So please tell your colleagues, anybody, if you weren't there on Friday and if you want to get involved, there are other avenues to get involved. You can provide feedback online on the webpage, or maybe they'll do another forum later on. I'm not sure, but we're listening to what you have to say. And whatever you say, we'll try our best to meet you where you are, so you feel that you're part of this conversation and that what you bring to the table, it's meaningful and it's important, because it is. So thank you for being here, and I'm just very excited to work. I love working here.
Thank you, Maria. I love working here too. I want to go back over some data, because data is important, and I make a clear distinction between being data-driven, being data-informed, right? And this is about being data-informed, and I don't make a distinction between qualitative data or quantitative data. And on the surface, data means nothing without an analysis. So today is also about an analysis and implementing interventions that we believe will improve either the retention, the success, completion, or the enrollment of students into our college. So why are we here? First, if we go to the president's welcome message slide, thank you. What we're going to talk about actually appears both in the fall convocation, PowerPoint, YouTube videos, also more specifically, more refined in the spring convocation. And that is the 4 areas that really connect to the funding source that we're going to be allocated today. So as you get into the groups, you all selected a group that you're going to go into. They're going to be some very lively, hopefully fun, exciting. There's an opportunity. Now, believe me, for those of us, how many of us worked during the recession, 2007, 2008, 2009? That was a very troubling time because we had similar concerns, but no money. Now we have financial resources to be creative, to be innovative, to be consistent. And so you all are going to get to, we're going to get to decide how those resources are spent. But there's a couple of things to keep in mind. And thank you to Tilly and the team that sent some of this data out yesterday. Let's go to the slide with the chancellor's enrollment report. We're about at 73% of our target. In my 20 plus years of doing this, I've never seen that number. I've seen 80 something. And even during the height of the pandemic, we never went below 80. We were hovering in the 80s. 70 requires the urgency of this meeting. But there's some positive things in this report as well. Our head count has not decreased significantly. We've been hovering between 12 and 13,000 students. At the peak of it, that's unduplicated head count. At the height of it, we were around 14,000. So we've lost about 2,000 students. In the grand scheme of things, we don't ever want to lose a student. But that's not necessarily statistically a significant number. It absolutely is a significant number. It's not statistically a significant number. What we've seen, though, which is the analysis of the 73% of these 12,000 students, is that prior to the pandemic, our students were enrolled around 6 units, right? We know we're talking about working adults. We know we're talking about parents. We know we're talking about people with children working. Now, during the pandemic, post-pandemic, if you want to call it that, I don't think we're post-pandemic, students are enrolled in 3 units. That requires a pivoting of our services, of our schedule, of our resources to support students who are largely working And let's face it, when Target raised their hourly wage to $20, and you all know what it costs to live in San Diego, our students are having to make a value judgment. Now, we know this is the best value. Now we have to put that into practice so that they know it's the best value. And that is really what today is going to be about. I'm going to stop there. I'm humbled that nearly 100 people will take their Friday. That shows your commitment. It shows here at City College, we are a family. We roll up our sleeves when we have a problem. And like Maria Jose said, I like to work. So we're going to go to work. And to take us further in that work, I want to bring up our Vice President of Instruction, Tilly Chavez, and our Vice President of Students, Marcel, and as well. Thank you all. And I almost made the biggest mistake you could make as a president. I forgot to take someone that has to thank someone who plays a major role in my success. And that is Erin Flanagan, who's over there. We welcome her back. You know, a lot of people think that the president tells people what to do. And it is Aaron and Janelle and Ira who make it possible for me to get where I'm supposed to go and the success out of the president's office. So Aaron, and make it possible that you all had breakfast and lunch today. So thank you, Aaron, for everything you do in the president's office. Tilly, Marciano.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. So just a few housekeeping items before we get started. For the students in the room, if you have not received your raffle ticket, please see Ginger. And Ginger's in the back right there, waving her hand. She has the raffle tickets for the students. If you are a classified professional, please see Miri before we break off into our big groups, and then for the raffle tickets for classified professional. And if you are SPA, then you should see Majda around here somewhere. Oh, she's in the corner back there. Please see her. Now, I already got the question like, where are the faculty raffle tickets? You're going to sign in at that table because that's where you get your ESUs and or Flex. And you're going to chat with Jeannie to get that taken care of. So there's no raffle for you because you're getting them. So we're all good with that. All right. So I'm gonna we want to just remind folks where the restrooms are for folks that have not been here. Right behind Tilly to I guess my left, and then there's some over in the M building on the outside part. So you're more than welcome to go over there to use that. We're going to spend a little time here, and then we're going to break off into some groups, and we'll tell you where those groups are going to be when it's that time. And so, all that. Oh, well, let me tell you logistics. So we'll start off by talking about who is our student journey committee. We want to make sure that we are recognizing all the folks that have had a big hand in helping to plan this and working on our enrollment strategies. So the tri-chairs, we want to thank Sana, who is the tri-chair with Tilly and I. Our classified folks are Desiree and Brenda. And for our SPA folks, we've got Brittany Carroll, we've got Caesar, we've got Clarissa, Lance, and Carolina. For our faculty reps on our committee, we have Sean Bacon, Fabiola, we have Christina Carrillo, Salem, Anna Rogers, Kim Sweeney. And then our managers on the team are Genevieve, Robbie, Susan, Masa, Dora, John, Parker, Alan, and let's give a round of applause for Alan, who is our new Dean of Student Affairs. Jeannie, Tyler, and Wendy who round out our committee. So there's a lot of folks in the committee that help plan.
Okay, so much taller than I am, and makes me feel like
Ricky actually turned it up there, and I know he's not that tall.
Anyways, thank you, everyone, and thank you to the committee, but maybe you're wondering, somebody asked me the other day, how did that committee come to be? Because wasn't it enrollment management? Wasn't it something else? And it is, and it has been. So I don't know how many of you have seen these wonderful, beautiful hubs. I'm gonna call them hubs today because I don't know where to go. Anybody else say, I'm gonna say hubs today. So over the past, well, before I came, so at least over 40 years, we have been working really hard on teams with IEPI, came in through a project. At one time, when I signed up for this job, I came in here and I had 17 committees that I was on or overseeing. I had no idea when I was going to get my work done because I was in a committee all the time. So part of this project, and Susan, please correct me if I'm wrong, I'm just going to do till the way, right? But we took these huge, massive places where we put spaghetti all over the wall. We had all these meetings and tried to bring them to a little more sensible. And so the hubs that you see ahead of you is really what is coming to be and where we are moving. College Council is at the center as the ultimate place where shared governance really happens, but all these other areas really participate and bring forward. I'm not going to go in and give you a lecture about the hubs today. It's just really talking about Student Journey Committee, because when I abbreviate SJC, some people forget and think that might be Social Justice Conference. It is actually Student Journey Committee today. So we're going to just share the letters at different times. So Student Journey Committee is what became the hub with enrollment management, 705, the student services, council. There's all these different ones that are listed there. So they're in your PowerPoint, maybe more. I just wanted to put that out there and say, how did that come to happen and where did that happen for people to look at? If you're really not sure where else you want to be 2 Fridays a month, come and join Student Journey. We'll always take on more people. So please join us. That's just moving on from that piece of it. Ricky was talking a little bit about some of the data here that's available to you. I think we sent it out as well. Send it out again. Sorry, Maddie, I will say, what's your pretty picture out there anyways? I'm just kind of going back to the reverb. So talking about with our enrollment management background. I arrived here in 2019 and one of my jobs said in about 2 months I want to see an enrollment management plan. I didn't even know who you all were yet. And so it took a year, but we put a plan together. So pre-19, there was some growth plans that had been started, et cetera, people trying to look at them. That had been since 2017. So in 2019, college put it together and put down a good plan. A plan for what we had. It's more than other people had. And I'll be honest with you, Miramar and Mesa are barely working on their first enrollment management plan. So we kind of go in different directions as to how we get there. So that plan was put together. It did expire in December. But there's so many things that still have to go into that. In the meantime, about a year ago-ish, we received a challenge of what are we doing for retention? Because we have a retention section in the plan that was about less than a paragraph. So we're going to get back to this. So over the last year, we really spent looking at retention of ideas. Where do we go? We have a beautiful plan. I was going to share it here, but actually we have it on print to share it with people. And when you do that retention area, we'll go through that. So it's still draft. Everything's draft because it's always moving. It's going to always be flow. So we worked on that over the last year, but guess what? We never integrated into the plan. And then we have this plan due December. Thank you, Anna Rogers and the whole team, Marciana, took that on to get that plan together and keep us compliant. That has to be integrated into the enrollment plan. So these are plans that need to just be pulled together. Just want to make sure people are aware that's where we need to go. So today is also whatever we learn and bring here will inform our current plan. So the hope is that we go into the next cycle informed with all of these plans moving forward. I put something else on the slide about modalities because this is a great space for us to have conversations. I didn't know 4 years ago we were going to be in a pandemic, and just moving you all off of the campus. I remember that week of just getting you off of here. I remember one of the Zooms saying, you must leave. People were not leaving. I have a picture of the president sitting in the hallway suite with Denise and I said, what are you doing? And he said, I'm not leaving till you all leave. So it was hard for all of us just to get off the campus. So, but you did a great job. We moved on. We tried to help our students the best we could. Now we have to figure out what does that mean and what did it offer us? Now we live in a new world. So I put modalities because I really think modalities, the way we teach classes is also important. Do people have, do faculty have what they need to teach the courses the way they would like them? What's missing? We need to be informed. And also how are students doing with that as well? Some may have one preference versus another. We won't know until we can ask. So I put modalities because somewhere modalities need to come up and be thought about and look at in enrollment. So it's just something to keep put out there for yourself. Moving on. So Marciano, I'm going to bring you up. This much time.
So our next slide that we really just want to talk about is, so we had a conversation with Ricky and really started talking about like, what is enrollment management? It's one of the questions that he asked us to think about. And we came up with enrollment management is student services and instructional services aligned in the following 4 areas, which is what we broke up our groups into today. So which was retention, concurrent enrollment, working adults, and our expanded promise program. So we really wanted to think about enrollment management as those things, those 4 areas, and then how does instructional services and student services work together to really influence each of those areas, and how do they fit into the plan that we're trying to develop. So the next thing that we wanted to do is talk about what is enrollment management. So thanks to Dr. Kinde, some wonderful things that we came up with is that enrollment management, it is an institutional commitment and an integral part of, I can't even read here, and an integral part of strategic planning. I need to get my glasses checked. It's a clear articulation of institutional enrollment goals that go beyond our numbers, our shared numbers. It's a plan that aligns services and resources under the umbrella of our larger vision. It is a data-informed strategy, and it's a living plan that is constantly changing as institutional needs change. Now, I'm going to tell you what it is not.
I also wanted to throw in there when you talked about student services, everybody coming together, and I think that's really important. It's not saying, Marciano, how come your team's not doing this or that? It's more, how can we get this work right? And there has been, I have to say, I mean, it's really been a pleasure for me to work with Marciano because there's sometimes that I'll just, in case you can't tell, I am the extrovert on the team. So I just have to always talk, and they always like to just sit and think about things. And so I have to put it out loud. And so I'll go in there and he'll look at me, and it's times where he's like, do I put my pen down? And I just go in and I shout things out. And then next thing you know, he'll come back and he'll say, I didn't hear what you said. Let me follow up. Did you know that we can do this, this, and this? And sometimes I just get frustrated. I didn't know from the instruction side. And then student services comes over and says, we have an option of things that can fix that. I said, well, I didn't know that. So sometimes it's really good that I just go out and throw things out there. But I just wanted to share that piece. And I think that truly is what enrollment management is on this campus with all of us, right? How does that look like? How can we help each other about that piece? So the next piece of that is what it's not. And I think this is really important for us to look at as well. So enrollment management is not just a quick fix, right, of your current enrollment problems. It's not just an enhanced admission of marketing operations. So we have great things that we put out there. Caesar, thank you. We have buses, we have billboards, etc. But it's beyond all of those things as well. It's not the explanation for enrollment related decisions like classroom cancellations. Those are different things as well that go along with that. Just a planning document that just sits on the shelf. So I think this is where I'm so happy to see so many people, because this really makes me feel great to say that we're all in this together. And I know it might feel like a big heavy load, like enrollment management's on all of this, but it's really about our future. our future students continuing to be here. What the world is going to look like for education, that's really dependent on all of us. So what we offer, right? So what we offer to them. The next thing that we have coming up, I think, is we did a quick, very, very quick SWOT analysis, just quickly, because really the idea is that in your groups, you talk about these things. You probably already have this already at your fingertips somewhere. So when you start to look at strengths that we have, you are part of that strength. The team, when I put team on there, that's everybody here. Our students are our team. All of that is the strength of enrollment management. So just keep that in mind. Just straight up, the weakness, do we have a big weakness? We are understaffed. We hear you, we see you, we know we are understaffed. So we just know that. We have to just admit it and go with it and say what it is, right? But we do have opportunities. This is Tilly putting in her little thing with opportunities. I know faculty are going, oh, she's doing it again. So we all know building that schedule, and I could put build that annual, build that 2-year schedule. That is my wish someday. I would love to see a 2-year schedule that somebody could come in and say, I can touch that. I can start and finish right here, start here and end here. That's always been my dream for the last 23 years in education. So I haven't seen it yet, but I'm still praying for that and hoping that it's out there for our students. And I'm glad to have students here because they can help inform us on that schedule. Threats, you notice we put logos here. Southwestern College down the street is a big threat. They are jumping on things ahead of us. They are taking our students. They took them back in 2019 when Campus Solutions came over, and then they never gave them back, and then they keep taking more. I'm just putting it out there. You know, there could be other threats too. And then I also do put in there, we have our continuing ed. Our sister college, continuing education, they get on things a little faster than we do. So how can we break down our barriers of jumping on those ideas and getting them done before they can lead us to it? So those are just real brief about a SWOT analysis. So moving on, we can look at growing engagement in the 4 areas. And I know we keep pushing this, but these are the 4 areas of it gives us a target, it gives us a priority where we're heading. And if things aren't in one of these priorities, we should be looking at them. Okay? So the very first area we're going to look at is retention. And Marciano is leading retention today. And do you want to talk about a couple of things of retention? We also do have a plan, but we won't have that out.
So one of the things as we talk about retention, and we've heard this from our president for many, every time he's talked, he said, you know, this is retention is for all of us to be involved in. It's not for just one group to do. And as Tilly mentioned earlier, it's not about just putting up, you know, some posters or some signs and marketing. It really is a lot more than that. So what we wanted to do is, as we go into our groups today, is to not think get caught up on what we're currently doing. We know the things that we're doing. We know the things that are working. We know the things that there are some things that we're doing that we hopefully could be doing better or doing in different ways. And so I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about the things that we're currently doing. We do want to focus today on retention and like, what are the things that where are those possibilities? Where are those gaps? What are the things that we see some, as Tilly mentioned, with some of our threats? What are some of those things those other folks are doing that we're like, we could be doing that too, or we should be doing that too? Our students are saying, hey, I can go to this campus and get this. Why don't we have that here? And so our hope is that as we think about retention, that we're going to do, we're going to walk away with 3 things. We're going to walk away a plan for strategy. We're going to look at the data and really review and see what the data is telling us about what our students, how our students are impacted when it comes to retention. And then hopefully a plan for suggestions for how we're going to allocate those funds. As Tilly and Ricky mentioned, we have about $800,000 that we're going to, that we have committed to these 4 strategies. And so our hope is to, you know, not just walk away with hey, I'd like to do this, but let's allocate some resources to making some of these things happen. So we don't want this to, sometimes you go to places and you're like, we talk about all these great things we're gonna do, and then we walk away and then nothing comes from it, right? Folks are like, we spent all this time, I got a wonderful ESC to do this, but then nothing else came from it. And so our hope is that's what today is about. Our hope is that today we walk away really with a plan, we see where the money is allocated, and then we'll start in our groups really thinking about how do we implement those things. The next thing that we'll talk about is concurrent enrollment. So I think Genevieve is going to come up real quick and do the concurrent enrollment, and then Timothy will do working adults, and then Thursday you'll be up to do expanded plans.
Hi everyone, Sarah. So John and I will be leading the concurrent enrollment little breakout group. What I have on the slide are just some highlights of where we currently are already. So we'll be looking, we currently have CCAP classes offered at high schools, we've got pathway exploration, nursing, child development, psychology, and some of these pathways, active dual enrollment MOU classes. And I say active because the pandemic has changed the way that high schools are operating. Some of our high schools are not quite yet ready to come back into having formalized read. So active dual enrollment MOUs with one charter school and one community partner. And then something that we, Tilly and Marciano and Ricky and the exec team have been thinking on is how do we start presenting our summer options to high school students as a summer school option for them. So something that we've been working on and thinking about, and, kicking around, and how do we do this? So those are some of the things that we currently have going. There's a lot more that I think we can explore in the breakout. And again, for each of these groups, looking at the 3 takeaways, right? A plan for strategy, data review. We were able to review the 23-page concurrent enrollment, early college credit options report from our district, and then a suggestion for the allocation fund. And thinking about, again, just mentioned, not necessarily focusing on like all the things that we're doing now and how we could improve those. That's a part of it, but really looking at where are the things that we have not thought about? What are the areas that we haven't looked at? There's a lot of folks in here I know who are connected to the community. I will be the first to say that right now we're not maximizing our opportunities for our community programs. And so that's kind of where you all come in. Where are the gaps what are the gaps that we have? I'm only one person, so I can't see what I can. So I'm super excited, and I know John is too, to be able to have this conversation, to see where we can start doing some things that are a little bit outside of the box, a little bit outside of what I've been thinking and what others have been thinking, and really get into opportunities for students. Because we know that in the SCIF and in our funding formula that high school students generate more revenue for us, right? The credit ones. So I will hope to see you in the group.
Okay, working adults. Team Tyler, did you want to come up? There are many times that I can use Tyler the mic. I do. She does a great job with it. And so come on up.
I do a great job. So this is like the portion of what can you do with a mic? Good morning, everyone. This is still in my bucket right now. It's so great to see all of you in person, and I'm glad I was at the table to welcome you in. And thank you for your time, and thank you for being here. And several of you, when you came up, you were like, I'm here for my department, and I came with a list, and that just makes me so excited because I can't wait to hear. But so for the working adults group, what does that mean, right? And we'll talk about that when we get to that breakout group. But we know our demographics, we know what the largest age population is on this campus that we serve, but could another group be larger? Yes. And how do we get there? How do we bring them in? How do we enroll them? By ensuring that we're serving their needs. President Shabazz mentioned this morning about having a working adult center, right? So I'll share, I was a single mom for many, many years. I completed my bachelor's and my master's as a single parent. And I literally had to go from work, wondering what I was going to do with the kiddo, and then go off to class until 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night. And I had a 30-minute drive to get to the institution I was going with, right? So when I got to that institution, having supports at that campus, at that location, would have made a world of difference at that time. And helping me probably be there a little bit more for my kiddo. So that's what we're talking about. That's what we need to think about. So how do we get there? How do we better serve them? First of all, I'm hoping part of the conversation is going to be, we need to hear from them, right? So faculty, those of you that are in the classes with them, serving them, I hope you've been listening to them and you're going to come with some of those thoughts and ideas. But real quickly, what can we do? We can shorten their timeline to completion, or shorten their timeline, like when we have a series of like our history institutions for graduation, right? The back-to-back, the sequence of the history classes, right? Could they take one the first 8 weeks and the second 8 weeks, and then knock those 2 out in the first semester? Absolutely, right? So let's think about some of those programs. And then let's think about taking it one step further and really being intentional and spreading it out for them so that they can know by the end of this semester, I could have these requirements taken care of. By the end of the second semester, I could have these requirements taken care of. So we just need to be a little more clear and transparent in our communication with our students. Weekend and evenings, right? Working adult, I was tied to my desk Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. and then I had to dash off to class. So could I have a Friday class that made a world of difference to me, or even a Saturday class? Absolutely. And then when we do get together, what are we going to talk about? So we want to talk about all those ideas you're going to bring, a plan for strategy, and we're going to look for the data, and then I'm going to talk about suggestions for the allocations of those funds we keep talking about, right? 800K. It will be decades before we see the amount of funding that we have right now. So we want to, when we have those funds, we want to use them in the best interest of serving our students and have a plan for how we're going to disseminate and put the money towards actions, innovations, plans that matter and that we will institutionalize and have with us as part of our city story for years to come, so that when the student completes here, they will tell their friend, auntie, uncle, cousin, go to City College because they have to. So working adults, you can, and if you want to switch teams, you can. No, I'll see you in the working adult thing, and again, very good to see you.
I wanted to just add to the working adults there. There's also the 8-week programs. I wanted to clarify, since I have the platform right now, make sure that the message, it's all about, Maria Jose reminds me, it's all about the message. And perhaps there might have been some confusion. You know, I get on things as fast as I can. The president might send something to me and I try to get it out there really quickly. Sometimes it's just very short. And my tendency is nursing, so it just is very blunt, straight, not a lot of context with it. So in case there was some misunderstanding, what I had asked was for the dean's to ask, they could find some programs that today would be interested in an 8-week program that may be rolling out in May, and then starting out in the fall, the 8-week sessions that they could complete in an 8-week time zone. So the programs that you see listed were the ones that came back of accounting, business, public administration, child development. Child development happens, it needs the last class to be a 16 weeks, but it can be completed within those 8 weeks. I wanted to make sure people didn't have the understanding that everything on campus is converted to 8 weeks. That is not the intention. That is not the ask. It's what can work for our students. I think something went out there and people thought I have to go up back and convert everything. That's not. So I just wanted to clarify today while I'm having a moment to say, you start thinking and say, all of a sudden, Tilly, I got something people can complete. We want to do this. That's fine. You're not off the list. It's just to get us started. Right. And the reason we're doing that, some of the data are showing is that our students are seeming to be looking to the 8-week sessions more and more. I wasn't as eloquent as Ricky on that one, sorry. But we'll move on to expanding the I take advantage of time. And Caesar? Oh, Larissa.
Hey, everybody, before Caesar comes, and I have to change the mic because this is one time that I don't have to adjust it. We will be going over expanded promise. So expanded promise is going to be something that is unique to our campus. It's the one opportunity that we do have to say to our region, we're doing something different, something that Southwestern, our sister campuses, Rosemont, are not doing. So Promise will provide prepackaged bundles for our first year Promise students. And really the bundles are going to be centered on their majors, and it's going to provide an opportunity for an improved first year experience with a clearer, more directed path. So these classes that are going to be offered to the students will be provided to them actually when they are currently in high school. You guys all know that we do signing days. This year, we're going to have improved signing days at each of our feeder schools, which will include a celebration of their commitment to Community City College, but also actual enrollment into these Promise bundles. And then it's also going to provide opportunity for them to connect with our learning communities, our GSPS team, and then any affinity group that is interested in going. The other key parts that I want to mention for the bundle pieces, it is really related to equity and our successful enrollment. That's the first indicator that we have, and I heard that we have the 73%. I don't want to steal somebody's thunder, but if you go to the back of this PowerPoint, you'll see the applicants to enroll. So 59% of our students that have applied have not enrolled. Not the problem. So the Promise bundle will be a strategy in order to make sure that these students are enrolling. They're enrolling classes that are going to benefit their educational career, and they're going to be enrolling in 12 units at that time, which will meet their Promise requirement. Equity goals as well as some retention ideas. So really the group that's going to be focusing on Promise bundles, I really want to spend the most money out of all of the groups. And you guys know that I like to have fun. So let's come up with some ideas to engage our Promise students, retain our Promise students, and make their experience here at Community City College something that's really exciting that they can then turn into chain enrollment, letting them know high school campuses, their friends, their families, their colleagues, that we do have a clear direct path for them to complete in 2 years and then get to their next point, whether that's going straight to their career or transferring to a 4-year university.
Just want to add to Rick's comments that we're the district also with the San Diego Promise is also looking to students, returning students who not enrolled in 3 semesters. That's a good news, trying to get students back to campus, and also looking at our different communities, CE students, positive youth, veterans, documented students.
So now we're into the best part of this, which is when we're going to break off into our groups. But before we do that, I'm going to tell you where you're going to go. So if you are part of the group that wants to engage in conversation around retention, you are going to stay right here. If you are the group that is going to look at concurrent enrollment, you are going to be in B141A. So the very last room on the left. Or on the right, sorry. If you are looking at working adults, you're going to be in D121B. So it's a second door right past the stairs. And then if you're doing expanded promise, you're going to be up here in front of the mural. So those will be our 4 areas. It is now 10 o'clock. Raffles. I'm being told to remind those about raffles. Students, again, if you need a raffle ticket, you will get it from Ginger. Classified professionals, you get it from Miri, and Spa, you get it from Mazda. And we're going to take a 10-minute break to get into our groups. And then we will make sure that you have someone that is going to be your scribe, because we're going to report out when we come back. So at 10:10, you'll be in, and you're going to come down here.